Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Fantasy First. Thanks for keeping it locked in here. Today, we're going to be talking wide receivers, so that should be fun. But I just wanted to take a moment to say I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday, a wonderful 4th of July. I hope everybody went out there, celebrated their independence, lit off some fireworks, stick it to the man, ironically, there. So we're going to jump right in here to our number one ranked wide receiver, and for me personally, that's Antonio Brown. It doesn't really get much better than 129 catches, 1,700 yards, I believe 13 touchdowns. I mean, this guy in a 5'11" frame is a total stud. He has a Hall of Fame quarterback throwing him the football, has one of the best running backs in the league, albeit suspended in the backfield. You got a solid stud running mate in Martavis Bryant. So this could be the year where Antonio Brown really erupts, not like he didn't already. But I really like Antonio Brown. He can escape double coverage. He's a wonderful route runner. He's really Ben's most trusted target. And Todd Haley's going to force feed him the ball in that system. So if you're looking for safety in the middle of your rounds, especially if you're drafting in a PPR league, I think that Antonio Brown is one of the safer bets out there to put up a ridiculous season. At number 2 here, I personally have Julio Jones. Now, I understand there are other guys on this list that have performed, but looking at what Julio did last year was ridiculous. The touchdowns weren't there, 6, but I expect that number to increase. I really look at Kyle Shanahan, the offensive coordinator, coming in to Atlanta. Okay, he's going to force feed targets to Julio Jones. He had a 100-catch season last year. I can see those totals rising. There's just a lot to like about Julio Jones this year. And again, playing that NFC South, playing that AFC South. Listen, I know it's not all about scheduling, but when you look at your phone or your computer and you look at that matchup and you see V Tennessee, you're thinking Julio is going to have a monster day, right? So I really like Julio Jones. I think he has a true breakout year, and he shows the entire NFL why he's one of the top 3 receivers in the league. At number 3, I've got the safe, tried and true Demaryius Thomas. Peyton will be back at the helm for another year. We know about the running after the catch ability that Demaryius Thomas has. If you haven't seen it, go back, watch the game where Peyton Manning broke the 500 touchdown threshold against the Arizona Cardinals. Okay, he put on a show after the catch. Especially PPR, again, another 100-catch season for Demaryius, another double-digit touchdown season from Demaryius. I look at the fact that Julius Thomas is gone. That's going to bring more red zone work to Demaryius Thomas. Okay? I look at the fact that Wes Welker's gone. Now Cody Latimer and Emmanuel Sanders will be there, and I understand that, but there really isn't anyone, at least from a fantasy perspective, over the last 3 years that has been more consistent than Demaryius Thomas. So I'm locking him in at 3. At number 4, contract dispute or not, I've got Dez Bryant. He's a freak of nature, arguably a top 3 talent in the NFL. He's catching passes from Tony Romo, who's standing behind the league's best offensive line. Okay? I like Dez. 16 touchdowns last year. That broke a single-season franchise record. Okay? This guy is no joke. When you're throwing up the X 16 times, that's fantasy production. Now, I don't see him as a 100-catch guy like these other studs. I see him as more of a 90-catch guy, but again, his ability after the catch, combined with just the well-rounded nature of his team. DeMarco Murray is gone, so I look for Tony Romo to pass it a little more. So I love Dez Bryant here, and if you're looking for a safe pick at the end of your first round, the beginning to middle of your second round, I really like Dez Bryant. At number 5, good old Calvin Johnson. How can we forget about Megatron here? I think 71 receptions for 1,077 yards off the top of my head, I think, if I'm correct. For a guy who battled ankle injuries, nagging injuries, missed a couple games, that's a pretty good season, okay? Now, Megatron will be about 30 midway through the season, but again, we've seen some of the best receivers in the NFL, like Terrell Owens, like Jerry Rice, have some of the most productive seasons of their career in their early to middle 30s. So I'm not worried about Johnson being 30, okay? I look at Johnson as potentially some of the best value at wide receiver this year, okay? He's a stud. That doesn't even need to really be said. We all know what Calvin Johnson is. If you're looking at safety, if you're looking at value, and you're looking in the second round for your wide receiver one, need no more to say, need no more to look. Go ahead and draft Calvin Johnson. At 6, this is where I have the super freak Odell Beckham Jr. Now, only one season in the league, yes, but you look at those 12 games he played in, okay, 1,300 yards. I believe 12 touchdowns. I mean, that's insane. Now, the Giants are expected to have Victor Cruz back. Ruben Randall looks to take away some work. They signed, I believe, Shane Vereen in free agency. So the Giants do have a lot of mouths to feed. But again, I expect the Giants in that Ben McAdoo system for the second year to start force-feeding targets to Beckham. Now, defensive coaches are going to start game planning around this guy. He's not just a rookie who's like, who is this kid anymore? Okay, defenses are going to probably put double coverage on him most of the game because you're not really worried about the Giants' run game since Tiki Barber slash that Earth, Wind, and Fire year. So you know that Odell's going to see the extra safety. Now, the route running, the ability to stop like a dime in his breaks, hopefully that saves him. That's what we see with Antonio Brown, his ability to consistently beat double coverage. And I really like that about Odell Beckham. And, hey, you know, he's a walking freak of nature with that ability to catch balls like that. I mean, that's just insane. He probably tops it this year, too. So in that NFC East, I'm locking in Odell Beckham at 6. At 7, I've got Jordy Nelson. Yes, 30 years old, but another very productive season out of the veteran. Aaron Rodgers is still his quarterback. Now, with the emergence of Devontae Adams, I look at him potentially eating into some of Cobb and Jordy's time or targets, but when you're looking at a safe receiver in the middle of the second round, let's say you've already put a stud running back like Marshawn Lynch on your roster, and you're looking for a solid WR1, it's just a can't miss pick getting Jordy Nelson at 7. At 8, I've got AJ Green. This guy has Andy Dalton, and in 2013 still managed to put up 91 catches for over 1,400 yards and 11 scores. Now, he played hurt all year. He had something wrong with his toe. Now, Deion Sanders will tell you, man, as a defensive back, as a wide receiver, that toe injury is terrible because you got to get in and out of breaks, burst off the line. I mean, the toe is such a integral part to playing wide receiver. And we all know A.J. Green wasn't himself this year. I look to see him coming back, get the most of Andy Dalton's targets, and have a productive season. Does he hit 1,400? I'm not sure. Do I think I'm getting 1,300 out of 16 games and potentially 10 touchdowns out of A.J. Green? Absolutely, I do. And current ADPs have him chilling in the early to middle third round. That's a complete steal, complete value for me if you're talking about that type of talent in the third round. I'll gobble that. Thank you. So I've got A.J. Green at 8. At number 9, I've got Alshon Jeffrey. I think he's a stud in the making. We saw what he was able to do next to Marshall. Now he becomes the featured centerpiece in that offense. Okay, you've got running mate and rookie wide receiver Kevin White at playing next to him. So this offense will be open. Now I expect Jeffrey to see more double coverage. But again, you're in a division that you better put up points playing the Lions, playing the Packers, playing the revamped Vikings and their offense with Norv Turner. All right. Alshon Jeffrey, in my personal opinion, I'm projecting him to be a 1,300 plus yard receiver and a double-digit scorer. And if I can get that at the end of my second, early third round, that's a steal for me. Okay. I love his ability that he's developed into a full receiver. He's not just a deep threat anymore. He can be that possession guy. He can jump up and go get it. He can run across the middle and catch passes. And he just has those sure mitts, those big, giant white hands you see. A true monster of the midway there. I'm locking in Alshon Jeffrey at 9. At 10, I've got sophomore potential stud Mike Evans. Now, last year, he was a little inconsistent during the years, and his fantasy points were inflated by a couple blowout games. But, I mean, you did all that with no running game. Josh McCown and Mike Evans at quarterback, which I'll be the first to tell you. I think Mike Glennon could be a good, solid backup, low-end starter in this league. But still, the quarterback situation was a wreck there. You bring in Jameis Winston. He's going to have his rookie woes. No one just comes in and takes the league by storm. But I expect a more risk-taking type of mentality for Winston to help Mike Evans' fantasy value, because you know that Jameis is just going to throw it up there and he's going to let Mike Evans have opportunities to just come down with it. You can't jam this guy at the line because he's 6'4". He'll just throw you out of the way like nothing. Okay? He does have some downfield speed. I like Mike Evans as a 1,250-plus yard receiver, 9-touchdown guy. And if I'm getting that in the middle of my third round because I drafted Gronk or I went with an elite quarterback, I'm really loving that value. So I'm going to go ahead and lock in Mike Evans at 10. And again, that AFC South, that NFC South, I like a lot of the games on that schedule to be potentially high scoring. At number 11, I'm going with Randall Cobb. I don't see him reproducing 12 touchdowns. I see him more in the 8 to 9 area this year, again, with the emergence of Devontae Adams. But Randall Cobb finished as the 7th highest scoring receiver, and that was as a number 2 receiver. There aren't too many gigs better than being a receiver of Aaron Rodgers in the NFL. So I really like Cobb. He's a great talent. He signed that big offseason contract to remain with the Packers. Clearly, he values winning more than he does money, and I respect that about Cobb. So really, there's not much more else to say. In a PPR league, his value's probably boosted a little higher. But if you're looking for a safe wide receiver to put on your team in the third round, you can't really go wrong with Randall Cobb, barring injury. At number 12, I'm going with T.Y. Hilton. Big, deep threat for Andrew Luck. You know he's one of the best quarterbacks in the game. T.Y. Hilton is a great field stretcher, slightly improved his route running ability last year, and Andrew Luck just has a nose for finding his guy. Listen, in my opinion, when I look at T.Y., there's really nothing elite about him as a talent in his own right. He was a third-round pick for a reason. I'm not saying that he's bad. I think he's a solid B-plus receiver, though. And I think having Andrew Luck as your quarterback increases his fantasy value. I'd like him more as a wide receiver, too. If I have to get him as a 1 because I put 2 stud backs or Gronk on my roster, I'm okay because I know that I can build through value with all the receivers in the NFL today. But I'm looking at T.Y. Hilton as a late third-round option. I'd rather have Alshon. I'd rather have Mike Evans. I'd rather have those guys over him. But I love the quarterback situation, so I'm locking in T.Y. Hilton at 12. At 13, I'm going with Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is kind of a monster in his own right. He's a smaller guy, and you know that Saints offense will be translating to more of a ground and pound type of balanced offense. But again, we saw in that Green Bay Packer game last year on Sunday Night Football when Drew's operating out of that play action and Cooks has got one-on-one coverage, he'll win, he'll get over the top, and he'll use that speed to get separation. I really like Brandon Cooks, especially in PPR leagues. You know they're going to get him involved in screens. You know they're going to get him involved in quick routes so that he can let his nimbleness and his elusivity work for him so he can get yards after the catch. I'm a big fan of Cooks this year, and if he's available in the middle of the fourth, end of the fourth round, I will take a chance on a guy like that because I know Drew Brees is my quarterback, and I know that Sean Payton is my creative offensive coordinator. And again, just to mention it for those NFC South players, you're talking about the AFC South, the NFC South, a lot of weaker teams in the NFC. I believe the Saints finished second or third in the division, so you know they'll be playing all the other teams as second-place teams. So I'm locking in Brandon Cooks here, and I'm predicting a 1,200 yards, 6-touchdown season for Brandon Cooks. At number 14, I've got Kelvin Benjamin. Too many people said he was too raw. He was just a size specimen. I was saying early in the draft I really liked this kid, and I predicted him to go to Carolina, and that's where he went. Cam Newton's number one target, I believe he had 24 red zone targets. So that's an encouraging sign to hear if you're a Kelvin Benjamin owner. Now, he wasn't as efficient as he could have been. He did drop a lot of passes. But again, he was a rookie. The fact that he came in and had over 1,000 yards, I believe 9 touchdowns. As a rookie, that's pretty good. I only expect those numbers to get better. You have Devin Funchess on the other side. You brought back Ted Ginn Jr. to take the top off. So I'm really liking Kelvin Benjamin. I like his size, his athleticism. I like his touchdown potential. And I see him around that same 1,100 yard. Maybe he gets that double-digit touchdown season. I think he could potentially put up low-end wide receiver 1 numbers. At number 15, this is where things get interesting. So many people banished him to the wayside. I really like Andre Johnson this year. He had over 80 catches in Houston with the carousel, that quarterback that was there. Heck, I think Bill O'Brien suited up one game. It was getting so bad. Okay, I think this guy has gas left in the tank. This is going to be the first time in his career that he's played with a legitimate quarterback. Okay. So you got to love that type of value there. And when I think of Andre Johnson, I think of size, speed, I think of all that type of production. Now, again, we mentioned it before. I've seen Terrell Owens. I've seen Jerry Rice. I've seen other receivers have some really productive seasons in their early to mid-30s. And now that Andre Johnson has a better quarterback, I look to see him get more red zone opportunities, really use that size to their advantage, a lot of jump ball situations. I believe Andre Johnson can put up a 1,200-yard, 8-touchdown season. And if I'm getting that in round 4, round 5, because people are like, oh, Andre Johnson's 34, so he's no good, I will lock that in all day, baby. And I think he could potentially, in terms of ceiling, he could be a low-end wide receiver 1. So those are my top 15 wide receivers, guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you got any questions, anything you think you could add to the show, I'd love to hear what you guys say. I love hearing your comments. To those people that have, thank you so much. I really appreciate the support. Please go ahead and like and subscribe to my content. It takes 2 seconds, and it would really help me out. Because I want nothing more than to deliver top-notch quality to all you watchers on YouTube. So thanks, keep it locked in, and we'll be coming out with wide receivers 16 through 30 very shortly. Thanks for listening to Fantasy First on the High Stakes Sports Debates Network. Have a good one. High Stakes Sports Debates.